Prick up your ears.
The sound of DTM.
My car sounds like music to my ears.
My favorite sound when the car is leaving the pits.
My favorite sound, the cheering of the fans.
Crank it up. My favorite sound? The silence before the lights go green.
Full blast.
Downshifting from full speed. When I rev up my engine to its absolute limit. Too close to cool. Cheering on the podium.
Be aware.
It's gonna be loud.
Hello everyone and welcome to the 7th race weekend of the DTM season 2016. Well, certainly hot here at the Nürburgring in the green hell, and we are ready to burn some rubber, so here are the highlights. Enjoy.
Thank you, Verena. Yes, welcome to the 3.629 kilometre Nürburgring circuit in the Eifel region of Germany, which unusually is bathed in sunshine. Very un-Nürburgring-like weather for us to enjoy. BMW, of course, travelled to the Nürburgring with the overall leader in the Drivers' Championship at the moment, and that is Marco Wittmann. Marco's biggest challenge to his championship charge comes the way of Mercedes-Benz, and specifically Robert Wickens, who's had a couple of wins mid-season, first race at Zandvoort and first race at Moscow. What can he do at the Nürburgring? Paul di Resta on the second stint of his DTM career has had a win, a P2 and a P3 in season 2016, and the Nürburgring specialist appears to be Lucas Auer for Mercedes-Benz, who celebrates his 22nd birthday this weekend. Jamie Green is one of Audi's championship hopefuls, and he comes to the Nürburgring and would very much like to add a win here to the win that he took in Zandvoort just a few weeks ago. And Eduardo Mortara, also a winner of course, having taken the opening round at Hockenheim right at the beginning of the season, followed it up with another win at the street circuit at the Nürburgring, and he's not far behind Jamie Green in the points standings. Audi Sport Team Phoenix, it's their home race because they are based literally just meters away from the circuit here at the Nürburgring, and come here with their two drivers, Mike Rockenfeller and Timo Scheider. Mike Rockenfeller even had the opportunity to drive his DTM car on the public roads towards the Nürburgring circuit. What a treat that was. So the scene is set for two great races to come from DTM here at the Nürburgring, and let's take a look at the grid for race one. Here comes the grid for race 13 then, and elevating to pole position, we'll tell you more in a moment, is Marco Wittmann P1. He has Tom Blomqvist as his wingman right alongside him before we see two Audis together, Jamie Green and Eduardo Mortara. Very good qualifying from them. Daniel Juncadella and Lucas Auer is on P6. He should have been on pole position but inherits a grid penalty from Moscow. It's Felix Rosenqvist and Timo Glock on the fourth row of the grid for race number one. Then it's Bruno Spengler and Paul di Resta on the fifth row. Going from P11 and P12, it's Maxime Martin and Maximilian Gertz. To the seventh row, where we find the two Mercedes of Robert Wickens and Gary Paffett. And Robert Wickens' championship charge will take a lot of work from there. It's Timo Scheider and Christian Vittoris on row 8. Then we find Martin Tomczyk, who this weekend has announced his retirement from DTM at the end of the season, and Miguel Molina, P18. On the 10th row, it's Matthias Ekstrom and Nico Müller. Antonio Felix da Costa and Mike Rockenfeller go from P21 and P22. And bringing up the rear, it's Adrien Tombe and Augusto Farfus. As is always the case at the Nürburgring, a very healthy crowd here to enjoy the DTM action. And let's hear from the man that goes from the front row of the grid now and leads the championship, Marco Wittmann.
Achieving P2 in qualifying was already for me a good result. Of course, with the penalty of Lucas, we got the top spot for the race. So it's always good to start from the front row, especially from P1. And now I'm looking forward to have a good race, and hopefully we can win it.
Well, for sure, he's going to be able to count on the support of the man that starts alongside him, the British driver, also BMW, of course, and that is Tom Blomqvist. BMW then with very good qualifying, and that must have pleased the BMW's head of DTM, and that's Jens Marquardt, who's with Verena now.
Fantastic weather here, lots of people here, so I think we can all look forward to a very exciting race. And starting from 1 and 2 is never a bad thing, but we all know the race is 40 minutes and it's going to be really tough and tight. It was super tight in qualifying, and I'm sure it will be like that in the race. So yeah, I have full confidence in Marco. He's really this year the man without mistakes, and I count on him not making any mistakes today. That's going to be the key.
British driver who drives for Rosberg Audi is Jamie Green, and his time of 1:23.161 actually has given him P3, courtesy of Lucas Auer's demotion to P6 on the grid, and he'll be hoping for good things from there. Alongside him is Eduardo Mortara, who opened his 2016 campaign with that win at Hockenheim and has followed it up with a further win at the street circuit in Nürburgring as well. So we have an all BMW front row, an all Audi second row of the grid. What is the strategy then for the Audis going forward? Let's find out from Dieter Gass.
The most important thing is to have a clean run through the first corner, because that's going to be very tight, always on the Nürburgring. We have the 2 cars there which are running in the championship up there, and the main focus must be to get home some good points. I think after that we worry about overtaking others if we can.
It was Lucas Auer that actually set the fastest lap time in qualifying, but demoted by 5 positions to P6 due to 3 warnings, and under the totting up procedure of warnings, his third coming at Moscow. That means he takes the grid drop. Incidentally, his driver number is 22, and he celebrates his 22nd birthday on day 2 of this race weekend. Paul di Resta disappointed with his qualifying. His time of 1:23.304 was only good enough, unfortunately, for P10 on the grid, so a lot of work to do for Paul di Resta. Equally, an awful lot of work to do for the Canadian driver Robert Wickens, who comes to the Nürburgring P2 in the championship. However, he's starting from P13 on the grid, so much further back than he would like to be. So bearing in mind Lucas Auer was quickest, it's been a really curious qualifying for Mercedes-Benz. Let's hope Uli Fritz can explain more.
I think qualifying, we just didn't bring it really together. I mean, on the other hand, Lucas achieved pole position but got a penalty. So yeah, really sad. I mean, we have Dani and Luki on P5, 6, and then Felix on P7, who really did a great job again. So yeah, we need to make the best out of it, but obviously it's going to be tough.
Stefan Reinhold then is the team principal of RMG to the left of your picture, with Jens Marquardt in the BMW garage. Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich and Dieter Gass then hold station at Audi, and into the garage of Mercedes-Benz, where we'll find Uli Fritz as the camera zooms in on him. Haven't seen Toto Wolff this weekend yet. It's the start of race 1, about to get underway. And lights are out, and it's downhill now towards turn number 1. What a move from Daniel Juncadella, who's splitting the 2 Audis of Eduardo Mortara and Jamie Green. He could be in P3 before they go through turn number 1. Marco Wittmann and Tom Blomqvist doing a good job there, and Jamie Green manages to slot his car into turn 2 in P3, and Daniel Juncadella is about to be hung out to dry here by Eduardo Mortara, I believe, as Eduardo Mortara tries to wrestle back that P4 place. So they scream through the Mercedes arena here on the opening lap, and Marco Wittmann has done everything that he needed to do. It's Wittmann from Blomqvist, then it's Green, Mortara, and then it is the hard-charging Daniel Juncadella. Lucas Auer has lost out on a place, and we call him the Nürburgring specialist because he set the fastest time in qualifying, as we look at Robert Wickens also trying to make his progress up the field. So Lucas Auer then quickest in qualifying, relegated to P6. He also took a pole position here at the Nürburgring last year, which is why we consider him something of a Nürburgring specialist, but he's lost out on a place. He goes back to P7 behind Bruno Spengler. So to the NGK chicane they come. and left in, right out, uphill. And they all make their way through relatively safely. It's another one of the pinch points.
DRS active.
Jamie Green being advised then that he has a DRS available to him there on the charge as we go on board now with Robert Wickens, who's gained 3 positions. He's gone from P13 to at least being in the points P10 as we get a replay of the start then. Absolute flyer from Daniel Juncadella and also from Bruno Spengler. Gary Paffett also with a very, very good start as he very nearly hugs the pit wall in his quest to move up the order. And you can see the start reaction on the left-hand side of your screen there as the cars make their way now through turn 1. And it's here where Eduardo Mortara was very nearly on the grass but managed to get that P4 position back. Felix Rosenqvist hung out to dry on the runoff section. And let's see it from on board with Eduardo Mortara. You'll see the Mercedes-Benz to the left there as he comes screaming through. And this is where Eduardo Mortara is just momentarily on the grass. Good control from Eduardo Mortara. And let's hear some team radio now.
It's no problem. I'll let Robert by when he's behind. Don't worry about that. Let me battle for now.
So Paul di Resta running, of course, in P9 just ahead of Robert Wickens.
Copy.
And Robert Wickens being advised he ain't going to have a problem with Paul di Resta as he battles there with Maxime Martin, the BMW driver. And Robert Wickens very nearly with Gary Paffett right behind him as well into the garage as we go. And Arno Zensen then from Team Rosberg, pretty happy with what Jamie Green is doing out there on track at the moment. And Jens Marquardt from BMW happy too. Wittmann, Blomqvist, Green, Mortara, Juncadella and Spengler then the top 6 as it looks at the moment. This, of course, the shorter, almost sprint race of DTM here at the Nürburgring, race 1. Gary Paffett has now Timo Scheider for company, Maxime Martin having got past Gary Paffett, and this is how he did it in the run into turn number 1. And a little bit of contact between the two of them, and Maxime Martin then runs Gary Paffett right out into the runoff area. Let's see it again from another angle. Bit of a lock up there, which comes from Maxime Martin, who gets the inside line going through to turn 1, then can't make the turn and effectively runs out wide. And taking Gary Paffett, the Mercedes-Benz driver, with him. And wow, what a slide from Timo Glock. Brilliant control in the Mercedes arena from the BMW driver, completely and totally sideways. Marco Wittmann then doing a good job and eking out enough of a comfort zone ahead of Tom Blomqvist. And Jamie Green still can't get close enough to or find a way around the BMW driver Tom Blomqvist either. There you can see 1.3 seconds is what Wittmann has on Blomqvist. Jamie Green still within DRS ability on Tom Blomqvist but cannot find a way through as Lucas Auer defends that inside line from Timo Glock going into turn 1. A huge lock-up from Timo Glock. Is he going to go all the way around? Yes, he does. I think he's going to make that position here. So that was a great overtake from Timo Glock on Lucas Auer. So Timo Glock moves up a further position, and coming through now is Paul di Resta as well. So Lucas Auer losing out in 2 places, and here's a replay of the Timo Glock, who initially goes for the inside, realises that that's going to be blocked by Lucas Auer, so decides to carry the speed around the outside, which becomes the inside. So all I heard of that was a championship from Robert Wickens, and he can see his chances ebbing away now.
Understood.
In the meantime, this is Augusto Farfus pointing in the wrong direction, manages to get it round again. And in replay, we will see that Adrien Tombe provoked that. And for his part in that, he will be demoted in the next race for that manoeuvre. Adrien also having to retire because his car is damaged. See various parts of the aero flicks being thrown off the Adrien Tombe car, and Augusto Farfus turned around to face completely the wrong direction here at the Nürburgring. And there, the retirement of the Adrien Tombe car then. The incident under investigation, as you can see, but later it would be revealed that he'll take a penalty at the next race. Let's go on board with Eduardo Mortara behind Jamie Green. So Jamie Green has not been able to make any progress in terms of trying to find a way past Tom Blomqvist, and now it becomes Eduardo Mortara's turn to have a go, as Jamie Green is not too defensive in Eduardo Mortara going past. So Eduardo Mortara now runs P3, and he will have a go at trying to wrestle away that P2 position from Tom Blomqvist. Jamie Green has tried for lap after lap and just hasn't had the pace to be able to do so. Let's see it again in replay. As you can see, it was a fairly easy overtake for Eduardo Mortara. So it will be he that chases down Tom Blomqvist now, who's done a great job for Marco Wittmann, as Marco is untroubled right at the front of the pack. Jamie Green's splitter cam then through the chicane, as Eduardo Mortara the Audi ahead now. Robert Wickens is running in P11. Crucially, Maxime Martin is ahead of him in the final points-paying position. So crucial if Robert can to find a way past the BMW driver to at least wrestle a point out of the race. Mind you, we still have plenty of the race to go yet.
Gap to the car behind is 0.6, and the gap to Edo is 0.7.
So that informs Jamie Green that the car following him will have DRS available. Robert Wickens and Maxime Martin having a real go going through turn one. Of course, Robert Wickens desperate to try and find his way past the BMW driver. He'd got the inside line here, but Maxime Martin, as we can see in replay, was going to carry plenty of speed. Was there contact between the two of them? Just a touch between Robert Wickens and Maxime Martin, but Martin was able to seal the deal anyway. In the meantime, Timo Scheider and Gary Paffett very close together through the NGK chicane, and Scheider really doing a good job as Gary Paffett tries to go up the inside around the Coca-Cola turn, but fails in his quest to do so. Right with him is Maximilian Gertz, who's running in P14. Here's our race leader then, Marco Wittmann, who extends still further his lead over Tom Blomqvist is 2.8 seconds. There's just 4 tenths between Eduardo Mortara and Tom, though, as Jamie Green is really having to defend from Daniel Juncadella, and Bruno Spengler is not far behind, lurking as well. Juncadella to the outside of Jamie Green around to turn one they go, and he's going to stick with it here, and Jamie Green has to give him racing room, which means Daniel Juncadella is going to go through here, surely. Indeed he does, so we're on board with Jamie Green now, who's going to fight back. What a brilliant battle this is going on between the two of them.
Juncadella is behind you.
Now that's why Daniel Juncadella was able to get much, much closer to Jamie Green, who bounced over the curbs on the exit of the NGK chicane. We can see that now in replay. And this is Eduardo Mortara. He too couldn't make the chicane and has gone past Tom Blomqvist. He's going to have to give that position back. Indeed he does, and what could be crucial here is Juncadella could go through. So Eduardo Mortara's really going to have to be hot on it now. Well, basically he carried so much speed, he clattered alongside Tom Blomqvist, and he did momentarily get ahead of Tom, as you can see here, but he was never going to be able to make the chicane. Tom turns in. Edo takes the shortcut. Edo has to give the place back. But what is crucial is Daniel Juncadella is so close to them that as Eduardo Mortara has to yield the place back, he has to be so careful that Daniel Juncadella doesn't take advantage of that. And this is how close they were in replay. Well, he has managed to close the door on Daniel Juncadella, but now Jamie Green is coming back on Juncadella now, and Bruno Spengler is standing by to take advantage of whatever happens between these two. Oh, and all of a sudden Daniel Juncadella goes. He was provoked into that by Bruno Spengler, who now is in all sorts of trouble himself, as he has Timo Glock right on his tail, and Daniel Juncadella donuts his car round to go back. Let's see it in replay here. Spengler right behind Green. Juncadella just gets a touch from Bruno Spengler, who it looks like Bruno understeered into the back end of the Juncadella car. And basically what that means is a fine position for Daniel Juncadella has gone away. There you can see it from another camera angle. Timo Glock is able to take advantage and get right on the back of Bruno Spengler. But the one that's really disadvantaged through that is Daniel Juncadella. This fight continues between Gary Paffett and Timo Scheider, and this in replay. Well, here is where the contact happens, and the brake lights only just come on the Timo Scheider's car before the contact is made, so braking very late into the back of Gary Paffett. That sends him around. He's absolutely powerless to try and defend against that. You can see the Robert Wickens car there ahead of the warring factions of Gary Paffett and Timo Scheider. Well, Timo Glock hasn't managed to find his way past Bruno Spengler for P5, but He gets a better exit coming out of the chicane, and surely he'll make that overtake work now. Yes, he does. He goes up to P5. Spengler is back to P6. Spengler, though, is going to be under investigation for that move on Daniel Juncadea. No surprise there.
Mortara has 6 DRS remaining. 6 DRS remaining.
Well, this is Timo Scheider on Robert Wickens, and it's probably a very good and sensible move by Robert Wickens just to allow Scheider through, because for sure he's going to be under investigation for the contact on Gary Paffett. It's pointless fighting with him, although, of course, at the moment Scheider is into the final points paying position, but let's see. So Wittmann, Blomqvist, Mortara, then it's Green, Glock, Spengler, who's out of DRS now, runs in P6 with Paul de Resta P7, Auer is P8, then it's Martin, Scheider. But Scheider is getting a drive-through penalty. You can see at the back of this picture there, Timo Scheider gets a drive-through penalty for that contact on Gary Paffett. So that means then that Robert Wickens at the moment is in a position where he is banking 1 point. There, a replay of the incident.
Unfortunately, there was a contact with Gary then, and I got a drive-through for it. So yeah, in the end, it's a shame because there's no point in that result. But in the end of the day, that's racing, and we have to live with this.
A couple that have battled throughout the season are these two, Maximilian Gertz and Matthias Ekstrom. Eki then on the inside here, Maximilian Gertz not preparing to yield, and quite a bit of bodywork coming off the Matthias Ekstrom car as Felix Rosenqvist and Nico Muller are also absolutely side by side. In fact, Felix Rosenqvist very nearly into the pit lane in. Let's get a replay of this. And under braking, you can see Matthias Ekstrom up the inside, but Maximilian Gertz is just not prepared to yield at all, takes to the grass and stays ahead of Matthias Ekstrom. Perhaps also be able to see at the back of this replay how Felix Rosenqvist and Nico Muller fighting together there. Felix Rosenqvist with a slightly better exit from the chicane up the inside of Nico Muller, but sadly the damage to Matthias Ekstrom's car proved so much that he had to retire the number 5 Audi. And as we stay with Audi, Eduardo Mortara then of course took the chase to Tom Blomqvist, but he's not been able to find a way past either and is now out of DRS. So we've got the splitter cam with Jamie Green now, who's running in P4, but surely Jamie Green now will go back past Eduardo Mortara, given that the option was there for Edo to have a go at Tom Blomqvist, but he's failed to achieve that overtake. So Jamie Green will go back into a podium position for P3. Indeed he does. So P3 is Jamie Green, P4 now is Eduardo Mortara, but no mistaking the winner. It's going to be Marco Wittmann that wins at Nürburgring.
You just won our home race, Marco. Thank you, thanks. Brilliant race.
Stefan Reinhold, let's hear from Marco.
Thank you guys. Home win for RNG. Thank you guys. What a great car. Thank you BMW. We won it.
Always good to hear the team radio.
It was my mistake today. I need to apologize because I love your...
BMW are happy, Hans-Jürgen Abte to Audi less so. Let's hear from Jens Marquardt.
It was a fantastic race. I mean, often Saturday is a bit difficult without stop, but I think today you've seen why DTM is the best touring car championship in the world. It was really touring car at its best, and Marco did a great job.
The result in full, Wittmann, Blomqvist, Green, the drivers that we're going to see on the podium then. Wittmann banking the most points. Robert Wickens, his nearest challenger going into this race, of course, finishing P9. Tom Blomqvist did a sterling job in P2. Verena Hurst caught up with him just before he makes it out onto the podium.
Starting off, the guys did a great job from yesterday and this morning when we weren't really happy with the car, and we managed to qualify up the front there, and then yeah, the race was going quite well, but I lost the DRS from Marco, and then I started to struggle a bit with the tyres, and then you know the Audi guys put me under a lot of pressure, and yeah, and I got a bit of a big surprise there coming into the chicane. It was quite a heavy hit, I have to say. I thought maybe I have a lot more damage.
There's Marco Wittmann then on the top step of the podium, and you may be wondering why Jamie Green and Tom Blomqvist are sharing step number 2. The reason being it's the wrong flag has gone up above step 3 on the podium. So Tom and Jamie, both being British, have decided to share podium step number 2. Let's hear from Jamie Green now.
Yeah, I think we were quick, especially me at the first half of the race, but just wasn't possible to overtake. So we need to get in front of them and at the first corner tomorrow, and then I think we can do better.
Here then the overall Drivers' Championship standings, and Robert Wickens is still P2 in the points on 120, but Jamie Green is just 1 point behind him, and Marco Wittmann in a very commanding position on 155 points as we go into race 2 at the Nürburgring, which of course is the race where strategy can come into play. It's the longer race, 60 minutes plus 1 lap and a mandatory pit stop. And here comes the grid for race 14, proving he is the Nürburgring specialist. Lucas Auer has put it on pole position, but what a result for Marco Wittmann. He goes from P2 on the grid. It's Bruno Spengler and Tom Blomqvist, P3 and P4, cementing BMW's pace here at the Nürburgring. Augusto Farfus, P5, Eduardo Mortara going from P6. It's Jamie Green and Miguel Molina and all Audi row 4 of the grid. And on row 5 we find Daniel Juncker-Deyer and Matthias Ekström. Gary Pafford with P11 with Felix Rosenqvist alongside him. To the 7th row, where it's Timo Glock and Nico Müller, BMW and Audi sharing that row, with Paul de Resta and Timo Scheider going P15 and P16. And it's Robert Wickens again, a dreadful qualifying P17. Christian Vittoris is P18. Maxime Martin is P19 with Mike Rockenfeller rounding out the 10th row. And it's Antonio Felix da Costa and Martin Tomczyk, P21, P22. And on the back row, we find Maximilian Goertz and Adrien Tombay.
Hello and welcome everyone to the Nürburgring. It is
Robert Wickens doesn't appear to have much luck. He lost a wheel in FP3 and he's further back down the grid than he would like to be.
We just can't seem to catch a break sometimes. I mean, we've had a lot of bad luck this year, a lot of fortunate opportunities as well, but yeah, I mean, today's not going to be easy, 17th. Yesterday already wasn't easy, but we just have to see what we can do and hopefully try to score as many points as possible.
Paul de Resta is another one whose qualifying didn't go the way he would like it to. He's going from P15. However, really curious is the pace of Mercedes-Benz because Lucas Auer, once again, the Nürburgring specialist, so it would appear when it comes to qualifying, has put the car on P1.
Will be a long race. We are bloody heavy and there are 4 BMWs behind me. Will be difficult, but I give my best.
Well, apologies for his colourful language. Lucas Auer celebrating his 22nd birthday today and goes from pole position. P7, though, is Jamie Green, the Audi driver. He and Eduardo Mortara doing their level best yesterday to try and wrestle away that P2. Wasn't able to do it, but Jamie Green was on the podium for P3, so he's in a very, very good points-paying position. Eduardo Mortara, well, he starts 1 place ahead of Jamie Green. Jamie Green is P7. Eduardo Mortara is starting from P6. Let's hear from Audi's head of DTM once again. Here's Dieter Gas.
Yesterday's result was not so bad, finishing 3 and 4. The problem was that Marco was still in front, obviously. Yes, he increased the gap. Today, similar situation. What makes it even worse is that there are a few BMWs around, basically, which we first have to get past in order to get Marco. So that will be a massive uphill challenge.
Augusto Farfus then. Very, very good qualifying from the BMW driver who has, with his 122.898, put his car P5 on the grid. Tom Blomqvist it was that finished second yesterday. He will start ahead of Augusto Farfus, going from P4. Both of them, crucially, are very near Marco Wittmann and also, crucially, are in front of the Audis. So, it's all looking pretty promising for Marco Wittmann then. Let's hear from him.
We're starting from the first row again, so it's pretty nice to have 2 consistent qualifying results, which is not always the case in DTM. And yeah, I hope for a good race. Let's see how the start will be, who is getting better from the way, Lucas or me.
Good to hear from Marco Wittmann then, and who is going to get the best start? Will it be he or will it be Lucas Auer as the fans back into the stands? Let's hear from BMW's Jens Marquardt.
Now we have 1 hour of race and we have Lucas Auer on pole position. So there is an hour of work for the guys. With a pit stop and everything, a lot can happen, so we need to be concentrated, and I think the race speed of Audi will be also very significant, so I think it's going to be a tight and interesting race.
As we go into the garages just ahead of the start of the race then, the tension there on Uli Fritz. Of course, his driver is Lucas Auer, is on pole position. There's Jens Marquardt, who we've just heard from, with Stefan Reinhold to his left-hand side and into the garages of Audi as well. Wolfgang Ullrich flanked by Dieter Gas and Hans-Jürgen Abt as the final red light comes on. The lights go out, and who will make it P1 into turn number 1? It's going to be Lucas Auer, who cuts across the front of Marco Wittmann to secure the fact that he will have first place going into turn 1. Eduardo Mortara on a real charge down the outside and gets ahead of Augusto Farfus. Timo Glock has gone around, and that was possibly following contact with Paul de Resta. Jamie Green is right alongside Tom Blomqvist and tucked in behind Augusto Farfus. Wittmann is chasing down the Lucas Auer Mercedes for all he is worth. Bruno Spengler is P3, Eduardo Mortara P4, Augusto Farfus P5, and then it is Jamie Green. We're on board with Jamie Green now on that splitter camera as he powers the Audi out of that turn. Here we get a replay of the start then, and Lucas Auer with a blistering start. Good start too from Matthias Ekström. You can see it from our helicopter shot, and there the start reaction is on the left-hand side of the screen for you as well. Yes, that's where Timo Glock went around, and there was contact with the Paul de Resta Mercedes-Benz, which sent Timo Glock around, but he was able to rejoin. Let's go on board with Eduardo Mortara now. He was certainly quicker out of the blocks than Tom Blomqvist, and to the outside of Tom Blomqvist now as they go very, very downhill. He passes Augusto Farfus momentarily as well, turns in, and there you can see the Bruno Spengler car right ahead of Eduardo Mortara. This is the splitter camera of Jamie Green, and there is contact between Farfus and Mortara. Very nearly contact between Green and Farfus as well. There was probably just a little bit of a touch on Tom Blomqvist, but this is our race leader, Lucas Auer. And look at Jamie Green tracking the Augusto Farfus BMW as they head once again into turn 1. Green is going to have the outside, but that will become the inside. But Farfus runs him out wide and protects his position. We go back on board with Jamie Green now through the turn number 2, heading towards turn number 3. This, the Mercedes Arena part of the 3.629 kilometre Nürburgring circuit here. You can see that Timo Glock has rejoined, but of course he's right at the back of the pack following that contact and spin around from Paul de Resta, who has suffered significant damage, as you can see, to the front end of that car, and that is going to be a retirement for the Mercedes driver number 3, Paul de Resta. What a shame. So in replay there, you can see the contact between the Mercedes-Benz and the BMW of Timo Glock.
Okay, drive with the front end, yeah? With the front end.
And let's hear from Paul de Resta now.
3 into 1 doesn't really go. And I had Scheider on the inside. We made light contact early in the brakes, but that was fine. And then Timo locked up late on the brakes, and he just missed the corner, and I couldn't turn because he was on the inside. And obviously Timo had turned in, and there was nothing I could do. Scheider didn't leave me enough room, and I couldn't avoid the action.
So Lucas Auer is leading then, hotly pursued, as you can see, by Marco Wittmann. Then it is Bruno Spengler P3, then it's Eduardo Mortara P5, Augusto Farfus, and then Jamie Green. We're on board with Jamie Green now, braking into turn number 1. Lucas Auer goes through turn 1 into turn 2, well ahead of Marco Wittmann at the moment, but there's still a long way to go in this race. There, the order on the left-hand side of the screen, as you can see, the mandatory pit stops, of course, still to come, where strategy will play a part, undoubtedly.
.32 laps to go, 32. Tire pressures when you
got a black and white flag. Just a warning at the moment, just a warning. Keep racing.
So Gertz then gets a warning, and Blomqvist now looks at the back end of the Gary Paffett car, because Paffett, of course, has made that overtake stick. Here it is again in replay. Through he goes, and let's see it from on board the Tom Blomqvist car as well. Super smooth, no touching at all. Paffett goes through. Pit lane is very busy. Blomqvist out. Whoa, and Augusto Farfus into the path of Robert Wickens. It's not going well for Molina. He stalls the car, gets it going again, but Farfus very nearly into the side of Robert Wickens. And he's sure to get a penalty for that. So Farfus back out, Blomqvist out, Molina out, and here comes Robert Wickens back out into the race again, having done their mandatory pit stops. And let's try and catch up with some team radio traffic now to hear what they've got to say.
Okay, if you have a chance, Jamie, balance please, balance.
So busy team radio channels, and this a replay then as Augusto Farfus was released really into the path of Robert Wickens, and he does yield and allow Robert Wickens to make his stop, but we can see it from on board the Tom Blomqvist car as well now. And here comes Gary Paffett. Need a good stop from the ART team. The clock is on. It's not the quickest 4 seconds. We've known much better than that. Here is Blomqvist. Where is Paffett going to come relative to Tom Blomqvist? It's going to be tight, that's for sure. I think Blomqvist is going to win the place back. But Paffett is steadfast through turn number 1, and actually he just makes it stick. It was tight, but he stays ahead of Tom Blomqvist. Following the mandatory pit stops. Still to come in, Wittmann, Spengler, Mortara, and many others as well. On board with Tom Blomqvist momentarily.
Pace is good, good pace.
And here we can see it in replay as Jamie Green being advised that his pace is good. So too was Gary Paffett there as he tried very hard to hold on to that place. Right, in comes Lucas Auer, P1, and Marco Wittmann, P2.
Copy, we are ready.
Who will win this race in the pit lane? Wittmann could get ahead of Auer here.
Okay, it's possible, try to close the gap to Edo.
So busy team radio, busy pit lane as well.
Pit stop light, pit stop light.
Here is Lucas Auer. We need a good stop from the Muka team here. And it is a good stop.
Watch the white line, watch the white line.
So Lucas Auer stays ahead of Marco Wittmann following their pit stop then. And disadvantageously for Marco Wittmann, Bruno Spengler goes through. Very interesting strategy being played by Audi, who are leaving Eduardo Mortara and Jamie Green out, as you can see from the graphics on the left-hand side of your screen. Now what they have is completely clear track ahead of them to push in as quick a laps as possible and to try and vault others in the pit stops. So let's see if this strategy works from Audi then. Eduardo Mortara and Jamie Green staying out. Let's get some more of the very busy team radio.
Push, we are fighting Mortara virtually.
So Marco Wittmann being told that he is fighting Mortara. Augusto Farfus then serves his time penalty. It was a 10-second stop and go time penalty and a replay of the manoeuvre that caused that. And it was an unsafe release into the path almost of Robert Wickens. In comes Jamie Green now. And that's a 3-second stop for Jamie Green. The graphics on the right-hand side of the screen indicate where Marco Wittmann is relative to Jamie Green. We go on board with Marco Wittmann right now. He's comfortably through, but not comfortably through is Gary Paffett, who's right alongside fellow Brit driver Jamie Green as they touch going through turn 1. Paffett spins and loses a whole bunch of places after that contact with Jamie Green, who was returning following his pit stop. What a torrid weekend Gary Paffett is having for contact. Let's see it again in replay. Paffett coming down the outside. Jamie Green returning. And there's contact between the two of them. And that sends, of course, Paffett around. Well, let's hear what Jamie Green has to say about that and get the take from his side of things.
It was a shame. After my pit stop, I joined at turn 1 and Gary Paffett was side by side with me. I think speaking to him afterwards, he didn't know that I was actually side by side, so he turned in and we hit, and I got a penalty for that. But I don't think it was clearly my fault. I think it was a 50-50 thing. If he would have known I was there, I think he could have left me space to go side by side through the corner.
Well, Jamie Green gets a drive-through penalty for it as Marco Wittmann now gets past Bruno Spengler into turn 1.
Drive-through penalty, Jamie, drive-through.
Confirmation then of that penalty for Jamie Green. Adrien Tombe, who's yet to turn into the pits, is in a position now where he's got the race leader Lucas Auer and Marco Wittmann and Bruno Spengler all queuing up behind him. Lucas Auer really needs to get past Adrien Tombe as quickly as he can, because this is meaning that Wittmann is getting ever closer to him. And there you can see Auer does go through, but now all of a sudden Wittmann is right on the back of Lucas Auer as they make the run down the start-finish straight now. Marco Wittmann gets past Lucas Auer. Bruno Spengler is not far behind either, and of course Adrien Tombe, the longer he can hold them up, the closer the other Audis can get into that battle as well. But Auer has gone through, so too has Marco Wittmann, and all of a sudden Lucas Auer is really going to feel the pressure of this driver, the BMW driver Marco Wittmann. Really pushing that car through. Turn 3, turn 4, in comes Matthias Ekström. A very quick stop, 2.7 seconds. Christian Vettoris is not going to hold up Lucas Auer, but is going to slot himself in to act as a great support to his teammate by just making it very difficult for Wittmann to get by.
Box, box, box. Pit stop, pit confirmed.
Eduardo Mortara's been out for a long time, and in he comes now. This could really make a huge difference to the race. They've left Eduardo Mortara and Jamie Green out for a very long time. Here comes Eduardo Mortara. It was a good time, 3.1 seconds. And there you can see where Mortara is relative to Auer and Wittmann. And Eduardo Mortara goes into P2 because Eduardo Mortara took advantage of the fact that he ran for a long time, was able to put clear laps in, and then advantageously as well, you have the situation where Christian Vettoris was holding up Marco Wittmann, and therefore Eduardo Mortara is now P2. Here we can see it once again in replay. So the strategy for Audi seems to have worked really, really well, because bearing in mind that Matthias Ekström gained a number of places in the pit stop as well, we're on board with Eduardo Mortara. So the leader is Lucas Auer, but crucially, Eduardo Mortara is just 1.2 seconds behind. Then it's Marco Wittmann and Bruno Spengler, but Matthias Ekström is up to P5 and he's really chasing down Bruno Spengler now. So the whole face of this race has changed following the mandatory pit stops and following Audi's strategy decision to keep Eduardo Mortara out right to the very end of the pit stop window. And he now is chasing down Lucas Auer. Hans-Jürgen Abt then on the pit wall, and Peter Mucker for Lucas Auer on the pit wall as well. And
9 laps to go.
this is how close Mortara is to the race leader. Now, bearing in mind, Eduardo Mortara has got DRS available to him. Lucas Auer hasn't. He locks up. Eduardo Mortara goes through to take up the lead. Brilliant driving from Eduardo Mortara. Brilliant strategy also from the Abt Sportsline team. They kept Edo out there, and it has worked perfectly. So, Eduardo Mortara then. Bearing in mind, Matthias Ekström is really chasing down Bruno Spengler. Jamie Green, regrettably, is out of the equation now following the drive-through penalty. And here we can see it again in replay. Lucas Auer defenceless. Edo Mortara on fresher tyres. And what a shame on Lucas Auer's 22nd birthday as Hans-Jürgen Abt celebrates for Abt Sportsline that Lucas Auer doesn't look like he's going to get the win on his birthday. In the meantime, here comes Matthias Ekström on Bruno Spengler as the data is on screen for you as well. But the DRS wing will go down. It does, just as we say so, and that will mean that he should be able to get past Bruno Spengler as they head in towards turn one. Spengler defends the inside line, then goes outside, and there's contact between Matthias Ekström and Bruno Spengler. So Matthias Ekström does get past, but by touching.
Yeah, Bruno, we can see. Keep your head down and fight him.
I think Matthias Ekström is going to have to give that place back to Bruno Spengler.
But it's been reported, so just fight him as much as you can.
Let's hear some more team radio.
Matthias, change back position, let Bruno again go. So you need to swap position. We need to swap position.
Well, to be fair, that was expected because Matthias Ekström made the overtake, but took great advantage in just offering a little nerf to Bruno Spengler to help him on his way. And talking of nerfing, a bit going on between Timo Scheider and Robert Wickens there. You can see his various body parts came flying. We're seeing that in replay. Maxime Martin is the car that's being chased, and Robert Wickens, of course, doing his level best to try and garner as many points from what has been a horrid weekend for him, and contact with Timo Scheider certainly not helping the situation. Mortara needs some info.
Gap to Wittmann, 2.7.
And here comes Matthias Ekström. This is take 2 on Bruno Spengler. Spengler protects the inside line, so Matthias Ekström goes to the outside, will try and cut in now, but Bruno Spengler's going to have the inside for turn number 2. But Matthias Ekström is really pushing hard here. Now Bruno Spengler runs a bit wide, and he's going to have to allow Matthias Ekström racing room. So maybe a lap later than he would have liked, Matthias Ekström does go through.
Good job, Matthias. Good job. Now we go for Wittmann. We go now for Wittmann.
So the chase is on to Marco Wittmann. Of course, the more points that Audi can take out of BMW, it's good news for Eduardo Mortara. So Wittmann currently running P3. Here comes Nico Müller on Bruno Spengler now, and Nico Müller goes through to take up P5. We're getting towards the closing stages of this race. Mortara leads from our P2. Then it is Marco Wittmann. And here you can see Matthias Ekström on fresher tyres than Marco Wittmann, and there, look at the gap over the last 3 laps. Nico Müller now into P5, Bruno Spengler is P6, Gary Paffett is P7 with Tom Blomqvist P8. We're on board with Eduardo Mortara through onto the banked section as they turn into the long straight down the back of the paddock here with the kink in the middle. Constantly seeking information from the team, and now just look how that gap between Matthias Ekström and Marco Wittmann has been reduced to just under 4/10. But is it all too late? The RMG team cross their fingers. Hans-Jürgen Abt on the Audi pit perch does exactly the same. Not sure I could understand very much of that Eduardo Mortara. He has done enough though. Has Marco Wittmann done enough? He's holding off Matthias Ekström for all his worth. Through the NGK chicane they go for the final time. I think Wittmann has probably done enough to get a podium. Eduardo Mortara has certainly done enough to take the win. Lucas Auer will be P2 and Marco Wittmann will cross the line for P3.
P3, Marco. Well done. Great last lap. Thanks for that.
4,
Tough race.
4, good race.
Copy. I was not more possible. The pace was not fully good enough, and we were blocked by Mercedes and Audi in the race.
Let's hear from Lucas Auer now.
First lap I was already defending, giving everything what I've got, and then suddenly I got a gap, and I thought, hey, I'm still very fast. But then Edo just was on a different level, late pit stop, better tires, and a good car probably. So great job to him.
So the top 3 then, Mortara, Auer and Wittmann. Then it was Ekström, Müller, Spengler, Paffett, Blomqvist, then Daniel Juncadella and Molina, with Maxime Martin, Timo Scheider P11 and P12. Crucially, out of the points, Robert Wickens, as you can see, P14. So the big winner across the weekend in terms of points haul is Marco Wittmann. However, he's being chased all the way now by Eduardo Mortara, who points to the trophy and points to himself also. Up next, of course, DTM goes to Hungary and the Nürburgring circuit before the season finale at Hockenheim. Before we enjoy hearing from our race winner, here's Matthias Ekström enjoying the podium ceremony with an ice cream, and why not?
I lost already so many points because of decisions in the championship in Zandvoort. We lost some points, and afterwards just enjoying the moment, to be honest, and this victory feels like the best, to be honest.
Championship chart then, 170 points for Marco Wittmann, 137 for Eduardo Mortara, 120 for Robert Wickens. Big winner of the weekend then is Marco Wittmann. He's with Verena now.
I can be really happy with the weekend. Finishing P1 and P3 is a really good result. Twice on the podium, on the home race of my team. It's something special. And especially if I consider that the race was pretty tough today and I had to fight, especially in the last lap, pretty hard. I think we can be happy with P3 today.
You did a fantastic job. Thank you so much, Marco Wittmann, and we'll see you in 2 weeks in Budapest. Till then, take care, and here are the highlights. Enjoy.